So, according to some of those right-wing pundits out there, us trans people are out here taking over all sport.
Any trans female who is included in sport excludes another biological female.
More than that, we're fantastic at all of it.
Transgender women, people born male but who identify as female, are winning many competitions.
And utterly destroying the concept of fair competition.
How is it fair for trans women to compete with women?
In fact, according to some out there, there's secret trans people everywhere working to destroy the entire notion of society. And now we're coming after the sacred ground that is professional wrestling. Hello, my wonderful friends, enemies, others, and indeed lovers. I'm Spectra, the Witch of the Ring, and I'm going to talk us through this mess today, apparently. Hooray! I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time debunking the idea of some kind of natural advantage that we have. I don't need to. There's plenty of stuff out there. Look, here's a long-ass study commissioned by the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport that determined so. To summarise, HRT is legit magic. It actively changes the body's physiology to what the quote-unquote goal is. Muscle density, fat distribution, and many, many other things change. Speaking from personal experience, I am imboobed, my skin is wonderfully soft, and my testosterone levels are substantially lower than the average cis woman's. The simple summary is that there isn't an advantage that I inherently possess, and such discrimination is exactly that. Discrimination. To really drive home what kind of utter trash these bands are, what kind of advantage could I possibly have at chess? Chess! If that was somehow true, that just makes the fact that I suck at it somehow even more embarrassing. Fun fact here to round this part off. Chess isn't exclusively sex segregated to start with. Major tournaments are, generally speaking, open, recognising that there isn't a fundamental talent gap between the sexes in the mind. Bringing this back to my neck of the woods now, I hate to break the illusion to you if that's somehow being maintained, but wrestling is, fake. The idea that we could possibly destroy fair competition in it is just... what? Look, the age of kayfabe taken to its extremes is over. Kayfabe still exists, of course, in that we are basically acting, especially in the promos. But also, like, the moves we do are specifically designed not to hurt, to be safe. In fact, some of them, like my beloved Tornado DDT, hurt more to do on someone than they do to take. This is obviously part of the show these days. It is a performance. And these kind of acts that we do are meant to enhance that performance. And importantly, people enjoy it. But sometimes some people just can't take that. They can't deal with the reality. And thus we get conspiracists. There's a thing that's been happening for a while now, where weird bigots on the internet try and investigate someone who's irked them, to try and say that they're secretly transgender. It's a phenomenon known as transvestigation. It should go without saying, but such kind of body language phrenology is entirely based in bigotry. They wouldn't be doing this unless they already thought that somehow being transgender is a bad thing. And like all bigotries, this stems from an overarching reactionary position, a drive to maintain hegemonic power. That is, in our society's case, white supremacy. Probably the most famous person to be transvestigated and still an ongoing target of conspiracy theorists is Michelle Obama. The former First Lady of the United States of America is not, in fact, a transgender woman. The reasons why she was targeted should be fairly obvious, but the simple rundown is racism. There's homophobia and transphobia, of course, obviously, that goes into this. That should go without question, really. But the be-all and end of it is still racism. Bigotries are built on one another. As I said before, they are reactionary positions. They fundamentally go towards upholding structures of hierarchy, keeping people down, and the powerful in their positions of authority. And of course, transvestigation works on a paranoid level, because people can't tell. And because people can't tell, this gets murkied when we consider the concepts of passing and stealth. Let me be very clear before I delve into this. Someone being trans or not is no one's business but their own. Obsessing over whether someone might be or not is transphobic in and of itself, as you are reducing someone down to a singular aspect of their entire selves. No one is entitled to anyone else's life. Phew, okay. Quick glossary update for those that don't know. Passing is the experience of not being seen as transgender, basically. It can be thought of as being seen as cisgender in the way that you might be vaguely aiming for. Stealth is the act of cultivating that, of not wanting to be perceived as transgender and taking active steps to mask that. Simply put, it's passive and active. Passing is a thing that happens, stealth is a thing that you do. There's discourse around this, but I'm not touching that here. Every trans person, and I literally mean every trans person, has had some experience of passing to some degree or another, because perception isn't as sharp as what anyone thinks it is. Contrary to what TERFs keep banging on about, no, you really can't always tell. The reasons why someone might be stealth are myriad, but basically it boils down to one thing: bigotry. The most effective way to avoid bigotry is to not be targeted by it. Bigotry is, of course, not just having slurs shouted at you or being physically attacked. It's the denial of opportunities, of being excluded from society. In an entertainment industry like wrestling, the goal is to put bums on seats. So in a bigoted environment, at best, we are seen as a freak show-esque draw, or at worst, we are actively in danger. Luckily, we're not quite at that stage yet, and I truly hope we never will be, obviously, but people are still being targeted, laws are still being drawn up that ban us from our art, and the cis-hets still have better career opportunities. As an example, I've recently stopped tagging my shorts, TikToks, Instagrams, wherever you watch them, with transgender tags. Views have noticeably risen. I know trans people in wrestling who are stealth. One of them I don't think knows that I know, but whatever. Actually, no, not whatever. Hi, Tangent Kiri here. Less tangent, more clarification. I was told this person was trans by a well-meaning cis person, as probably a way of making me feel a bit more welcome, letting me know there were other trans people around. But that was still outing them without their knowledge or permission, and yeah, that's not cool. The thing is, I'm not going to out them, because doing so would be an act of violence. If they want to be out, that is their own personal choice. I'm sad, of course, that they feel they need to be stealth, but the thing is, they have my heartfelt support. Hi, me again, Tangent Kiri, hooray! I just realised that I hadn't actually, answered the clickbait question title that I put in. So, no. Obviously. Right? Lol? We're not taking over wrestling. The reason why there seems to be more trans people in wrestling than there were in, the Attitude Era, the 90s and early 2000s or whatever, is because we're allowed to take part in it openly these days. There are some absolutely amazing out and proud trans wrestlers out there that deserve your attention and support. So let's name just a handful of them. There's Nyla Rose, of course, still tearing up in AEW. Edith Surreal, the current Enjoy Wrestling champion. Commander Stephanie Sterling, host of the Jimquisition, the pan-dimensional princess of pansexual pandemonium. She's also a massive reason why I got back into wrestling in the first place. Up and coming in the UK indie scene, there's Helen Charlotte Campbell, the terrifying and indomitable Max the Impaler. And of course, a massive personal inspiration to me and a bundle of fun and energy, the absolutely wonderful Kid Bandit. There's links to all of them down in the description, so please do go and check them out. And down there as well are my links if you feel like supporting me. That would be very kind. I do hope you've enjoyed the video, of course. Please also do click the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss anything, and let me know what you thought below. There's a long way to go for trans acceptance, not just in wrestling, but in the world at large. But with love, kindness, and the occasional tornado DDT, we can make the world a better place.